2 summers ago, I stayed at a quiet beach house. It was called Bay Ridge Cove. It was in a small town about an hour outside of Boston. Let's just say I needed isolation, somewhere peaceful, disconnected. So I found this Airbnb. It was modestly priced and secluded. The listing had great reviews and only one photo because it was an old listing. I liked the vibe of the image, though. One story, whitewashed walls, right next to the shoreline. It looked charming, worn, but cute. Perfect for what I needed. My therapist had strongly suggested that I take some time away after a rough patch in my life. So I booked it. I arrived just before sunset, which was probably for the best, because I don't think I would have made it in daylight. Of course, nothing was there. The moon was full and bright. The waves crashing against the shore, but nothing else, just empty darkness. After I went outside to check the entire property, there were no stairs, no attic, nothing above the ceiling, but something definitely above me. I couldn't get it out of my mind. I wanted to leave. I packed quickly, drove into town, and stopped at a local cafe. I shut the window, poured myself some wine, tried to calm my nerves and get back to sleep. The dirt road leading to the house was narrow, winding and littered with potholes. The place itself also looked older than the photos. More weathered, salt-eaten wood, faded blue shutters, windows that didn't close all the way. What do you ask when you're looking for answers about your home? He ran across the street and down the sidewalk, disappearing around the corner. I watched him go. His dogs just stared at me. So I settled for ordering a mocha and sitting in the parking lot, watching people go about their day. But it did have charm. Real coastal charm. It was empty. No one else was staying there. I loved that. He was wearing a faded Red Sox cap and carried 2 leashed dogs. He locked his car, unclipped the dogs, and started walking toward the cafe. I knew I had to try. That beach house burned down in 1998. Nothing has been built there since. I threw my bags on the floor, wandered out back, and sat on the deck overlooking the beach. I sent a message asking him to call me back, but I never received a reply. I tried the email address provided, but it bounced. I spent the rest of the day driving around. The windows were boarded up, but I could make out the outline of the place. Same as the pictures, same as the old listing, except worse. Oh, much worse. I stopped at every antique store, every local diner, and every historical society, asking anyone who would listen. But no one knew anything about the Bay Ridge Cove house. Had they known I was there? Were they trying to warn me? I checked my phone. The Airbnb listing was still there, but my booking history was blank, like it never existed. I walked outside, got in my car, and drove to the nearest ATM. I withdrew $500 and taped it to the counter. And the beach house, the one that burned down in 1998, was still there, standing silently by the ocean. And someone was waving at me from the upstairs window. I wrote for the last tenant, tucked the money into an envelope, and slid it under the door. Then I left. He turned around and walked back. Why to bother you, I said. If it wasn't there, if there really wasn't anything there, I wanted to see it for myself. I needed closure. But do you know the history of the beach house at the end of Bay Ridge Cove Road? That night I slept with the windows open. Sea breeze was perfect. The sliding glass door leading out to the deck was wide open. I stepped over the threshold, felt the sand beneath my feet, and saw footprints. Small footprints going deeper and deeper into the beach until they disappeared. I pushed it open. Inside, I saw more boarded windows, crumbling plaster, dead bugs on the floor, dust everywhere. I shined my flashlight around, revealing a pair of children's shoes under a table. A teddy bear on the floor, a half-buried doll in the corner. I drove back to the house, found the spot where the footprints had vanished, and started digging. 1 hour later, I uncovered a small wooden box. I opened it and found 2 tarnished silver rings, a child's ring with a blue stone, and a wedding band. I had some wine, read a few chapters of my book, and fell asleep without hearing a single sound. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to a child laughing, giggles, a boy's giggles. I sat up in bed confused. I was the only person there. There weren't even any houses nearby, just dunes and ocean, but I could hear it. Above me on the roof, or maybe in the attic. At least I had a starting point now. I clipped the dog's leashes back on and started searching online. Hi, this is the host from the Bay Ridge Cove listing. How can I help you? There was nothing on Google. The only reference to Bay Ridge Cove was the Airbnb listing, which was still active. Footsteps running in circles, a blanket, muffled shouts, and then silence. I was about to drift back off when I heard them again. Giggles, whispers. Two voices, a boy's and a girl's. This time, they were coming from right beside me, as if someone was standing at the edge of the bed whispering into my ear. You hear that? The little girl said. They're still here, aren't they? The boy responded. They won't hurt you. Not tonight. I got up, walked to the window, and pulled back the curtains. The next morning, I got up early and made myself some coffee. I wanted to ask the locals about the history of the place, but I didn't know what to say. About 45 minutes later, a man in his 70s parked in a spot across from me. Excuse me, I called out. He looked at me for a long moment. Which one? He finally asked. The one with the blue shutters, I replied. It looks pretty old. He blinked. You stayed in that place, he said slowly. You shouldn't be here. Before I could respond, he dropped his dog's leashes and bolted. I thanked the old man for his help. I called the host. He answered on the first ring. Hi, I said. I'm calling to ask when the beach house was built. There was a pause. What beach house? Bay Ridge Cove, I repeated. He paused again. That beach house, he said softly. Of course it hadn't. I could feel it. I thought it was a prank. I called the number on the screen, but it went straight to voicemail. Exhausted, frustrated, and scared, I decided to return to the beach house. When I arrived, it was dark. I walked out onto the porch. I knocked on the door. It was hollow, sounded like it was made of cardboard. As I turned to leave, I noticed something strange. The next morning, I drove into town again, stopped at a local hardware store, and bought a shovel. I felt sick. Suddenly the whisper, "They won't hurt you, not tonight," flashed through my mind. I returned the box to the house and placed it on the table. I haven't been back since. Here's what haunts me. When I drove away that final day, I looked in the rearview mirror just once. There is no upstairs. Last summer, I stayed at a remote beach house off the coast of Maine. It was a solo retreat. No family, no friends, just time away to write and clear my head. My porch looked out onto an empty stretch of sand, nothing but beach grass and the occasional seagull. But that night, as the sun dipped below the horizon, I saw it, a second house. I walked down the beach looking for it. Nothing, just empty shoreline. But that night, it was back again. Lights in the windows, faint music playing carried by the wind. The music was louder now. I couldn't place the melody, but it made my skin crawl, like something playing from a forgotten record player buried under the sand. It sounded old, a slow piano tune, like from the 1940s. White siding, dark windows, a porch just like mine. Me in school, me sleeping, me in the exact beach house I was staying in from the outside. I turned to leave. The front door was gone, just blank wall. The house began to hum again, not from a person, but from the walls themselves, like it was breathing. But it was much farther out, sitting alone at the edge of the beach, just where the dunes began to slope. When I looked back, there was nothing there but grass and dunes. But now, every night since I returned home, I hear that same old piano melody. And last night, when I opened my curtains, just past the street lamp, I saw that house again, and one of the windows was open. As always, here are your writers, your directors, your editors, and your narrators. Thank you all for watching. Till next time, sleep tight and don't let the bed bugs bite. I booked the place specifically because it was miles from anyone. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you're returning to watch more scary stories. Make sure to subscribe for weekly uploads of horror stories. All the links are provided below. I remember sweating, breathing hard, but every time I looked up, the house was still far away. But eventually I reached the steps. These stories come from a popular podcast. Each episode of the podcast features several terrifying tales told from the perspective of people who claim they were there. The stories are often never finished, meaning they could be ongoing, or they may never have received a proper ending. This story is one such tale from that series. I hadn't heard a car. No neighbors were listed. The humming grew louder, then stopped. Suddenly, every light turned on at once. warm yellow bulbs flickering like they'd been off for years. The room looked lived in, furniture still in place, coffee mug on the table, a chair turned toward the fireplace. And then I noticed photos on the wall. Every single photo was of me. Still, I chalked it up to me not paying attention. Maybe it had always been there. That's what made it so strange when on the second night I saw lights across the dunes. I didn't remember seeing it before. The next morning, it was gone. Out of curiosity, I waved. A light flickered in response. That should have been my first warning. On the third night, I decided to walk toward it. The walk took longer than it should have. The dunes seemed to stretch. The house looked abandoned up close, paint peeling, curtains shredded. But the door was wide open. Inside was dark, cold, and someone was humming. I called out, but no one answered. Not just recent ones, some from when I was a child. I don't remember how I got out. I woke up face down in the sand the next morning, far from the house. Hello, everyone. This is our new series, True Scary Tales. If you enjoy this video, make sure to let us know by hitting that thumbs up button. Thanks for watching this episode of the No Sleep Podcast. If you want to watch more episodes like this one, stay tuned for new episodes every week. It was my girlfriend's idea to rent the beach house. I wasn't against it. The pictures looked amazing. Soft white sand, windows that opened straight to the ocean breeze, and best of all, total isolation. No neighbors, no traffic, just the two of us. I poured some water into the kettle and put it on the stove. A knock from beneath the stairs. 3 soft knocks. Then silence. I called out, thinking it was a prank. No keyhole, no frame. Just smooth wall where the door had been. I asked her if she remembered it. She said, "What door?" "Always green, always cracked open. Sometimes I find seaweed near it. Once, sand in the sheets. I tried to leave. The road back was gone. Now it's just me here, in this house. With doors that lead to nowhere, and the sound of the ocean is getting louder. It's loud. It's inside the walls now, just ocean on all sides." I showed her a picture I'd taken the day before. Clear as day, green door under the stairs. But when I checked the photo again, it was gone. Thanks to my supporters for making these videos possible, and thanks to you for watching. See you next time. The picture was still there, but the door, not in it. She got upset. Thought I was trying to scare her. But I was terrified because that night while brushing my teeth, I heard the knock again. From the bathroom mirror. Maybe a rodent or a breeze. But when I turned back toward the crawlspace door, it was open. It's just a crack, but enough to see that it led into pitch darkness. I slammed it shut and pushed a chair against it. My girlfriend laughed it off, but I couldn't sleep. I kept imagining something crawling through that space, watching us. As it heated, I wandered around the house. Everything was fine. Nothing was out of place. It was then that I noticed something that made my stomach tighten. A small wooden door had appeared beneath the staircase. I could have sworn it wasn't there before. It looked like an access hatch. Square, weathered, and painted the same pale seafoam green as the house's trim. No handle, no hinges, no doorknob. Just a keyhole. My girlfriend hadn't noticed it either. "You must have just missed it," she said. "It blends in, but it didn't feel right." We arrived on a Tuesday afternoon, after a long drive through winding roads and overgrown brush. It was a little off the beaten path, but that was the appeal. Peace and quiet. The house was older than the pictures let on. Creaky floorboards, salt stains on the windowsills, but nothing too unusual, just ... aged. We spent the first afternoon exploring the beach, collecting shells and sea glass. We built a bonfire that night and roasted marshmallows under the stars. The waves crashed constantly against the shore. And although it was cold, I felt comfortable and warm with my girlfriend beside me. We walked back to the house hand in hand, drank some wine, and fell asleep to the sound of the tide. The second morning I woke up first. My girlfriend was still sleeping, so I got up to make some coffee. That night as we were getting ready for bed, I heard something. The next morning, the door was gone. I don't mean it was closed. I mean it wasn't there. Not even the outline. The door appears in different places every day. The kitchen wall, the hallway ceiling. Once in the refrigerator. Then last night she opened it, my girlfriend. She smiled, eyes totally blank, and said, "He's been waiting for you." Thanks for listening. If you like this story, please leave a comment below.